Welcome to Mayfair. Today we're going to be taking a walk through some of the richest and most sought after property in central London, possibly some of the richest property in Europe. It's very fashionable. It's places where people who wish to live in style come here and own amazing property. First of all, we're looking at a mews house, which originally were the carriage houses where the horses and the coaches and the coachmen lived, who served the great houses who were behind. But since the time of the Beatles, the mews houses became more sought after than the big houses on the other side, which were eventually divided up into flats. In Mayfair, we'll be seeing shops which will contain some of the most glorious items you'll ever see. You'll see properties, residential properties of the highest standard, and we will see restaurants which are very glamorous and very expensive. But there's something about Mayfair that is so attractive, and that is, it is absolutely beautiful. If you like to see things that are pleasing to the eye, for sure, Mayfair is the place to be. This is Mayfair Gallery. These are all 18th century pieces, glorious French furniture. Whether you buy or not, it's just simply wonderful to see such things. A gilt silver 18th century charger, all engraved on the front with the royal coat of arms. Spectacular workmanship, dazzling. That's all I can say. This shop contains the finest sterling gilt overlay of anywhere in London. The pieces are monumental. They obviously came from great estates, some in Russia, some in France, some from great houses in Britain, and they all find themselves in these glorious shops on South Audley Street. The 1881 Audley House here on South Audley is now the Gun and Rifle People Purdy manufacturers. On the entrance above, you'll see a large coat of arms of the royal coat of arms of the Queen, the royal family, indicating, of course, that it has a support of the royal family. This is their display room and their clothing, guns. We're walking down Mount Street, and I would like to show you another really fine antique shop, which are found here in Mayfair. This is an amazing antique shop. You see Chinese, Cantonese export to England during the end of the 1700s. You have a pair of Meissen birds, parrots, end of the 18th century. Two Regency cabinets dating to about 1810, finest quality. Two Chinese dogs coming from Canton, again about 1780, and a shop with a cabinet completely filled with beautiful Meissen, Derby, Bow, Chelsea, all of the finest factories. These are the shops that you find in Mayfair, and this one is a particularly fine one. We are crossing South Audley here, darting the cars, so that I can show you something very special to Americans. If you look across the street, you'll see an old church here on South Audley Street. It's an 18th century church, but it is in this church where the American soldiers came to pray during wartime in the 1940s. And there's a plaque on the wall which says, "In this chapel, the armed forces of the United States of America held divine service during the Great War of 1939 to 1945 and gave thanks to God for the victory of the Allies." The chapel was built in 1730, it says on the railing, and the organ was a gift of Sir Richard Grosvenor, 1752. So this is prior to what the British would call the American Rebellion. Can you imagine this beautiful room filled with American Army boys heading off to the continent to fight the Germans in the Second World War? I'm sure that that was an amazing place for them to be together, to share their belief in God, and certainly seek His protection. I think it's very beautiful. It's a typical church of the 18th century, similar to the churches that you would see in Boston, which were all modeled, of course, after the style which they found here in London. For people that come to London and are collectors, or people who like to see history, they'll want to visit Good's Company, who are the manufacturers of porcelain for the royal family and for all the royal houses of Europe. Inside, you'll see the finest porcelain made today. Here's the service for the coronation of Tsar Nicholas II. Here's the service for His Majesty the King of Spain, modeled after design of Queen Marie Antoinette's private service. Here's the porcelain dinner service which belonged to the Kaiser. Here is the incredible plate which was part of the great service created for the Empress of Russia, Catherine II. Here's one for His Majesty King George II of the Hellenes, the King of Greece. And this splendid piece was created for Queen Mary. I think it's quite amazing. This is a service which was done for Queen Victoria. Here is an example plate of the service which was created for Queen Alexandra. And here is the dinner service which was eventually created for Winston Churchill. And this was a spode plate used in the palace during the early part of the 19th century. These are example plates of these tremendous services which were created by Good. I'd like you to meet Sonia Waite, who would like to tell you a bit about her florist shop, such a grand one as it is.
Well, it's an established company from 1956. Started as a small country flower shop, London shop, but growing all the gardeny flowers and foliages that came mostly from the country then. Today it's a more commercial, but we also do, and so we're a very traditional florist, but we also do a lot of wonderful plants.
Thank you so much.
It's lovely.
It's a beautiful shop.
Thank you.
Beautiful flowers. Across the street here on South Audley, you'll see a blue plaque on this particular house at 72 South Audley. In 1805, Charles X, who was the youngest brother of Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette, was exiled to England, and this is where he lived before he returned back to France after the Napoleonic era. He died in 1836, after having become Charles X, King of France. But this is where he lived on fashionable South Audley Street during the time that he was exiled in England. I want you to see the beautiful buildings, how beautifully they're kept. All the wonderful plantings in the ivy, the boxwoods, really very beautiful. If you wander through the streets of London today, you will find very, very little litter, if any. And these men that take care of the streets are professional, and they are great, and they are dedicated. And when I see these guys, I salute them for keeping this city so beautiful. I think the word is grand, is it not? The embassy, the Saudi embassy. We're now coming into an area known as Shepherd Market, which is a very, very well-known area in Mayfair. Little shops and wonderful little restaurants. And we actually are coming here to have lunch. So come along with us. And this is where we're going to eat, which is our favorite restaurant and our very crazy owner, but the best spaghetti in London.